I actually have a question. Um, oh, everyone's here. Oh, just wanted to ask how Vrinda's background's looking. Is it all, does it look proper? Okay, okay. Sounds good.
important kind of tool and system ultimately to be able to access opportunity. So that's the background, and we'll share a little bit more about what we're building in a bit, but really the purpose of this conversation is to get you all kind of the basics of credit, get us all to level up our credit and really understand the factors that go into credit and have a conversation about it. So with that background, if at any point there's any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. We're monitoring the chat as well. We'll do a 30-minute Q&A at the end, but we want to keep this fun and interactive. Definitely don't want this to feel like another lecture at the end of a long day. So feel free to, shout out if anything comes up. All right, so this is kind of how today's going to go. We're going to talk a little bit about the hidden cost to being a woman, but optimistically, how to make sure credit isn't one of them. We're going to talk about why credit matters in a little bit more detail. We're going to talk about you and your credit and give you some actionable tips to make sure that you're building credit effectively and early and responsibly. We'll share a little bit more about Sequin and how you can get involved, and then answer all of your questions at the end. All right, so let's get into this. Queen RBG. So the reason we have a picture of her here is a very disturbing stat I saw was that women could be denied a credit card without a male cosigner until 1974. And that's really not ancient history, right? That's not too long ago. And why RBG is here is her work with the ACLU really advocated for women to be able to be financially independent and have that financial freedom, because again, without access to credit or without access to our own bank accounts, we don't have financial freedom, which ultimately leads to opportunity. And some of these costs, again, not to harp too much on what some of the harsh realities are, but really to equip ourselves with the knowledge and also understand how to fight back against these things are, some of the challenges that we face as women when it comes to finances. Some of you may be familiar with the pink tax, women paying more for everyday products and services, 42% of the time as compared to men. Also, a lot of us are students here, so student debt is primarily bore by women, and it takes us longer to pay that off as well. Caregivers at a certain point, we might, take some time off to care for a young loved one or an older loved one, and there are challenges, to stepping away from the workforce for a bit and coming back. And as it relates to financial services, that can sometimes, look like a mark against you, even though you're doing something very responsible. The gender wage gap as well, credit scores, which we will talk about today, but lower credit scores as well, which we're fighting to change. Healthcare across our lives, and retirement. Women are living longer, and so we have to think about retirement slightly differently, and real estate as well. We're seeing women actually being offered higher mortgage rates. However, we're actually more likely to pay off a mortgage and are more responsible with that. So I look at this and I say, this is all BS. Women are incredible, and we need to start chipping away at this one by one. But our thesis at Sequin is that financial equity and financial freedom is really kind of a baseline to all of this. And, this big arrow is us pointing towards the credit score, and that's what we are going to work to demystify today. So before we jump into that, one of the findings that I saw when I was first founding Sequin was women just aren't taught the rules of credit, and that's what we're stopping. And what we've seen here in the data through a lot of financial bodies, regulatory bodies, is that women are actually more likely to pay just the minimum. We'll talk about why that's a problem in a bit. We're more likely to carry a balance, and we're more likely to pay a late fee. However, when we're taught that that is not ideal behavior, that gap closes. And so I look at this and I say, this is just a matter of society not really teaching women about, how exactly to best access credit and best engage with credit. And so this is kind of one of those slides that talks a little bit more about the human and emotional aspect of money and credit and how it affects women differently. And so, there are three big buckets that we saw in our research. The first is the perception that fewer women believe that their credit score is excellent compared to men, when in reality, it's actually the other way around in these studies. And, women are more likely, 2 times as likely, to be authorized users on a parent or partner's account. And that's actually not building credit in our own name. So we'll talk about that in a few slides. But second, we see women facing a lot of anxiety when it comes to money and finances and credit. And women are more likely to lose sleep over these matters because, we are the chief financial officers of our households. And so, of course, there's going to be a lot more kind of stress around that. And then lastly, another kind of just directly we can change with these type of events is information and a knowledge gap, that little boys are receiving a lesson on credit more often than little girls are. And we're even seeing, women's media, only 1% of it is including, topics around financial literacy. And we're also seeing banks spend up to 33 times more advertising to men than they are to women. So if you look at this and you look at kind of, what are some of the problems, there's not a lot of informal or formal education coming from institutions we're not taught in school, but also as women, we're just not talking about money and credit as often. And so, at Sequin, we like to have these type of events and really foster a vibrant community of financial feminists to actually start this conversation and make sure we're equipped with the knowledge that we need to be, really financially successful and financially free ultimately. All right, so I know I've been chatting for a little bit. You're probably starting to get bored of my voice a little. So we are going to be playing some trivia in between, our conversation today. We just want to start off with a simple fact or myth. And we don't have the poll functionality, but we'd love to just see you type into the chat. Do you think this is a fact or a myth? According to several studies, men are more responsible than women when it comes to using credit. We'll give you 20 seconds to type your answers in the chat, and I'm monitoring it. All right, I'm seeing a lot of myths. All right, 5 more seconds for anyone who's getting their answers in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, all right. So I think this group knows what's up. Yes, so women are actually more responsible when it comes to using credit. We are carrying less debt, we're more likely to pay off on time, and we're more likely to ask for help when we need it as compared to men. We'll get into this in a second, but there is a problem with credit scoring that actually doesn't reflect the fact that women are facing all these hidden costs, and that is affecting our credit score. So it's not actually that we're any less responsible. We're actually more responsible. It's just that credit scoring is archaic and does not accurately reflect, what is actually going on. So good job. It's a myth. All right. Okay, so we're going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about debit versus credit, because this is a question that I get a lot, especially from young women, where they say, I just feel so much safer using a debit card, or I don't want to get into trouble using credit. So want to talk a little bit about this, and we're going to actually go into breakout rooms for 15 minutes after this, just to start sharing some of our experiences. But I'll get into that in a second. So I want to talk about this because there are so many myths around debit that I want to demystify as a credit expert. So all of this is caveated with, you should use your credit card like a debit card. You should pay it off on time every single month, and you should pay it off in full, because the worst situation is getting into a ton of debt. And I know, debt plagues so many Americans. I'm sure we've all known someone who's had, a bad issue with debt. So that's not what we're advocating. This is always about building credit early and building credit responsibly. And these are some of the benefits to credit. So one of them is, in order to build your credit history, the best way to do that is through a credit card. And credit and having a strong credit score is directly equal to opportunity. And so at Sequin, what we like to say is it's never too early to start building your credit. And today is the best day to start doing that in your own name and responsibly. So many of you might have known that already. But the second piece is credit is actually safer than debit. So this is for a few reasons. The first one is consumer protection laws for credit are actually higher than debit. So if you experience fraud with the debit card, you're actually protected to a significantly greater amount with your credit card than you are with your debit card. The second piece is, if you think about the impacts of the fraud, right? So with a debit card, it's your actual money that's being pulled out of your account, and that could be gone, right? But with a credit card, it's actually the issuer, your bank, lending you money, and then you're paying it back at the end of the month. But at that point, the issuer is actually more incentivized to fight for you to get that money back, because it's actually their money to begin with. So it's much safer. Also, if you think about online shopping, there's just greater fraud protection. So you just want to be protected. I know so many women who have shopped with their debit cards. They think it's safer, and it's actually less safe than their credit. And lastly, credit cards give you valuable rewards. One of the things that we see is, because women are using debit, we're leaving rewards on the table. And so we want to make sure at Sequin that every single woman has access to every dollar that she can access. And with the credit card, again, caveated with using it responsibly, it's free money. So what we like to say is shift your spend from whatever spend you can from debit onto credit. Just make sure you're paying it back, and you're going to be earning some pretty valuable rewards on those. So I'm going to take this moment to stop, and I would love to put you all in breakout rooms for about 15 minutes, and I'll ping this to everyone. But what I'd love for you to talk about is, introduce yourselves, and at this point, talk about, do you have a credit card? What have your attitudes towards credit been? Who taught you about credit? And, what are some of your fears around credit? And, what are some best practices? So we'll put you in breakout rooms, and we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes.
Vrinda, can I interrupt you just really quickly?
Yeah.
I actually have a class. I really want to hear all your information, but I have a class that starts at 6:30.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to kind of secretly sneak into the class, but I don't think I can participate in the breakout room. So
okay, no.
Just not include me in the breakout room.
Yeah, okay? No problem. You just don't click accept to that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm going to open up the rooms.
Have fun.
Is everyone in the room?
How are we doing on time, Simran?
Okay. Claudia, Arju, Niran, and Akanksha, did you guys receive invites?
Yeah, I think I I don't think Niran's going to join. Okay. Claudia's on a call, and Kelly mentioned, so yeah, I think just Arju. It's okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're doing fine on time right now. Do you want me to send the message, the broadcast message?
Oh yeah, can you just send them a message to introduce yourselves, talk about whether you use a credit card or not, and some of your attitudes towards credit, who taught you about credit, and any other ideas?
I think this is fine for 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. This is interesting. Did you see Kelly's note?
Yeah, I did. I was gonna mention it, but then she spoke up, and I was like, okay, cool. Okay, Arju can't join a room.
I wonder if we can have a few of them share out when they come back, just to make it a little bit more interactive.
Oh, someone's invaded this here.
Yeah, maybe we can decide if she wants to be. Hi, I don't know if I'm going to say your name properly, but Nivedita. Hi, we're in breakout. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there was nobody else in my breakout room, so that's why I kind of came back.
Oh, you
no,
came
I'm
back?
sorry.
Oh no.
Let me.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. You were in the same room as So okay, let's try again.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Right.
Oh, Zoom accidentally assigned her to the same room as Kelly and Naran.
Oh.
I was just like, oh no.
Okay, so timing-wise, we're good?
Timing-wise, we are good. We might be a little. Allison. Hi, Allison. We're in breakout rooms right now, so we'll just assign you to a room and yeah, talk about your credit experiences.
Sounds good.
Oh my god, why does Zoom keep assigning people to Naran's room? Okay,
We want him to chat about credit.
Okay, let's try again.
Nivedita, did you get assigned to a room?
Not yet.
Oh, it shows that you are assigned to. It's weird. Yeah, it says you're assigned to room 7, but let's try that again. Let me resend the invite in case you didn't get it.
Yeah, that might work. Okay, Nivedita should be in room 8.
Okay, I'm gonna check if the invite got lost somewhere.
It should just pop up.
Yeah.
No, maybe the window got lost somewhere else. I'm trying to close all my applications. No luck.
Okay, how about this? Why
How
don't
about
you
we chat?
do you want to chat with us?
If you go to the bottom of your screen, sort of where like chat and share screen is, there should be a join breakout room option.
I see. Okay, got it. Yeah, I think that should work.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Naran.
Naran's our tech support. Oh yeah, that looked like it worked.
Off all your rooms, but not joining.
How are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Good. Doing well.
Are you learning something?
Always learn things at Sequin Credit Power Hours.
Naran's our most attended.
I've noticed, yeah.
Naran has 100% event attendance. Is that true? I think you might have missed.
I've missed a couple.
I think just one though.
Oh, Claudia is here as well. Oh,
I think she was
she's
on
a call. Yeah.
So Simran, so timing-wise, we're okay, right?
Yeah.
Are we on track?
Sorry. Yes, we are. I'll send out a message in 5 minutes saying 5 more minutes.
As in, am I on track in terms of our?
Oh yeah. You're on track.
Okay, cool.
It'll be fine. Claudia still. Yeah, it's cool, Claudia. This is what I love about Zoom, though. Like you can be on like 5 calls. I attended a conference once, and I ended up like sewing an entire outfit for myself while I was attending the conference.
But you ended up doing what?
I ended up sewing an entire outfit for myself while attending the conference. I was like, I love Zoom. This is
But
so
you
great.
obtained an outfit, or you
No,
sold?
I sewed an outfit. Like
Oh,
I
you
stitched
sewed
one.
it. Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Wait, I didn't know you could sew. That's cool. What outfit did you make?
I made a skirt, like a matching skirt and crop top set.
Wow, that's cool.
I have the hobbies of someone from the 1960s, according to my brother. It's just like
Sewing is it's just a nice thing to know, though. Otherwise, then there's a small hole and you have to get rid of everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, also, Vrinda, when you say like fact or myth, when you go into myth, just like when you reveal the answer is myth, just like switch to the next slide.
Click it, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Hey, Naran, is the sequin, does it look backwards to you?
Hold on. No.
That's so weird. So last time, Simran, Naran gave the feedback that it was backwards. And so then Simran made a new one where it was flipped, and then
That was back. No, this is the original.
This is the original. And then she made a new one that ended up looking flipped, and so we flipped back to the other one. You don't know what's up.
Technology.
Woman.
Not bad.
Yeah, I became like freaking out. I was like, I don't see a flip version on Canva. What happened? Like, I do see, like, I have it stored. I have like all of these stored, but nothing is flipped, and I just freaked out. And I was like, oh,
it's so weird. Yeah,
it's just Zoom.
Zoom.
Like that weird thing where we heard a dog, like when we were chatting earlier in the day.
I think there was a video that you were watching, and then
no, there wasn't. That's just it. Like,
are you sure?
Yeah. Because it legit sounded like there was a dog on your screen. Like, otherwise it would show up in my earphones. But I was like, this is so weird. And I know you have a dog, so I was like, okay, is your dog nearby?
It wasn't it was a very high-pitched dog. My dog's very low.
Okay. Okay, is this the updated version, Brenda, that you're using with the links in slide 28?
Oh, what's slide 28?
That's the sign-up form.
I don't know what updated is.
Like,
I haven't updated
is there a link to the beta sign-up form in slide 28?
Possibly. Do you want to check?
I don't know which version you're using, that's why.
It's the same one that was in the Slack.
Okay, it's in the Slack. Okay, cool. Then it's linked. We're fine.
Hello, Concha.
Hi, I just wanted to stop in and say hi. I just joined. I didn't realize it was going to be in a breakout room, so I started talking to this German woman.
Did you chat with a few women about credit?
There was just one. There's a woman who's really sweet. She's like originally from Germany, and yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining.
I just wanted to say hi. I had no idea what I was like. Oh, boy, so I literally was getting all your text messages and all of that. So
yeah,
up to.
Yay! Yeah, we'll go deeper into it after people are back.
Oh, nice. Okay, so it just started. Okay, I wasn't
sure. Yeah, it literally just started. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm gonna actually make dinner soon, but. How are you guys doing? I would love to. Okay, I see Naran here, and then Simran. Hello. I don't think I know you. Hi.
Simran, Akanta's one of my best friends in the whole world. And yeah, she just popped in, and Akanta Simran's working on Sequin with me, so
nice.
It's all great.
Yeah, and I see some other women here too. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I'll go on mute and then say hi to you later.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm just sending out a broadcast message saying 5 minutes to go.
Perfect.
It is really funny luck that Kelly and Iran just got put in the same room.
Yeah, what are the chances?
And then every new person who hopped in was like getting put into that room, and I'm like, no, remove them.
Well, maybe also because he hadn't joined, and so
it was like
they're trying to match that. Yeah, possibly. How much more time do they have?
5 more minutes.
So Nuran, Simran has some big credit news. What happened Tuesday, Simran?
My credit score increased by 30 points. Finally, after so much waiting.
Amazing. Congrats, Simran. That's so great.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm super happy about it.
You should be. That's amazing.
Someone left. Okay, that's cool.
I wonder when the world goes back to normal, if people still have virtual events or if people will be itching to be back in person. I don't know.
I think in-person events will be like, virtual events will be more acceptable and they'll be better coordinated, definitely.
Yeah, that's true. There's not as much fear of doing those.
I genuinely do like virtual events. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I don't get the free coffee or the dessert, but like, it's fine.
Yeah. I like that I can do more and I'm not limited by just like the time I have in the day, basically. But there's something nice about just like the people you meet in an in-person event.
I think like a good mix is always required. Like if you have local events, it's great. But it's nice to attend virtual ones as well, especially because like Akanksha mentioned, she met someone from Germany. It's like,
well,
what
ladies,
are the chances?
is there a way I could join? I just realized that I can't join another Zoom class if I'm on this Zoom class. It'll log me out.
Yeah.
Is it too late to like re-log in with like my personal email?
No, I think you can just use the same link. And we're hosts, so we can admit you.
Are we making the deck available, or is that?
Yeah, we'll share the recording after if you want, but we'd love to have you now too, whatever works.
Yeah, I'll try to figure it out. Okay.
Sounds good. Just log into the same link. We'll let you in.
Thanks.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, Ronnie.
Oh. Hello. Nice to meet you both. We everyone is in breakout rooms, and they will be back in a few minutes. So we'll get started then, or restarted.
We were in the breakout room too, and we like saw the.
Oh, you came back.
So we came back.
Oh, perfect. How did it go? Did you have a good conversation?
Yes, although I felt like I was cheating because I worked at American Express for 11 years. So I had the ladies. We had like a session of like Q&A. But I said you probably cover most of it, but yeah.
How exciting. Well, I'd love to catch up with you after. Did you hear about this through Sequin or through Lean In?
Through Lean In. So I'm in the MBA program. So.
Oh, wonderful. I'd love to catch up with you after, Jessica. I just graduated from Berkeley Haas, so just finished up my MBA as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's awesome.
Okay. I'll give everyone 1 minute and then we'll bring everyone back.
Yeah, I didn't realize my Zoom was set up as my business app name, so I changed it. But it was Society of Saleswomen on here, so sorry.
I saw that. Yeah. Jessica, what were you doing at American Express?
I was in card sales for corporate card.
Nice. Very cool. At Visa, I was working on the credit platforms team, so I was doing product management and strategy for our card platforms.
Yeah. We had a marketing gal who went over. I think she helped create. I want to say she helped create one of the big cards there.
Do you remember her name?
It was Pat or Pam. This is years ago, like 2010 or 11, maybe she went over there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I joined Visa in 2013, so maybe we overlapped. Might know some of the same folks. It's really nice to meet you, and I'm glad you could host a Q&A in your room. That's wonderful.
Most of the girls were cool with that.
Oh, I'm sure they loved it.
And I think almost everyone is back. We have 3 or 4 people to go, but everyone's come back.
Perfect. Well, I hope that was interesting for you all. I hope you had an amazing conversation. One of the things that we want to foster at Sequin is just this culture of talking about credit and talking about money woman to woman. And, one of the things that I saw as I was doing some research was one kind of just sexist card marketing. So there would not really be women represented, but also even looking through, Investopedia, if you go to their Instagram, I had to scroll at one point through 8 different pages just to find one woman. So we're just trying to foster some of those conversations, and not to put anyone on the spot, but, was there something interesting that, you talked about in your room? Feel free to unmute yourself and just shout it out. We'd love to hear from, maybe 2 or 3 people, and just, I love just hearing, what the conversations were. Any brave volunteers?
Just share that I talked about how I'm an international student and how that is obviously impacted a lot about how I felt about credit. I feel like I got a good handle on it because I had to be very conscious about it, but it was obviously a struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Thanks for sharing, Catherine.
Something that my group talked about is the structure within our current household versus how we want to how we want our households to look in the future. So almost everyone in my group, our dads handled all of our finances for the family, and our moms kind of took more of a backseat approach. And I think that's going to change within the next generation, hopefully, where wives or in couples, the responsibility of finances are split 50-50.
Love that. Heck yeah. One more person.
I think Kelly had something really interesting to say in the chat.
Oh yeah, we saw that. I think Kelly, I don't know if you're still on a call or if you were on a call, Kelly, but if you want to share your experience, it's really interesting to read about.
I don't think she's here anymore.
Oh, did she drop? Okay. So Kelly in the chat shared that she bought a coffee machine on Black Friday, and she used her debit card versus her credit card. Said it was a pain to get my money back when I found out the site was fraud. When I guess she bought it on a fraudulent site, it was hard to get her money back. Anyone else from their groups?
Our group just had a cool mix, because one of us has a credit card, uses it all the time, and then I have one but hardly ever want to use it, and then someone else had never had a credit card before. So it was kind of interesting to all be at different stages with our credit, and then the person in my group who uses it all the time, the issues I was having, she shared some suggestions of things I could do. So it was really cool.
Do you mind sharing what maybe one of those suggestions were?
So the reason I don't like using my credit card is because I hate having to go in later and pay it off. I'd rather just use my debit card and just be done with it. And she's like, you can just set up automatic payments. It's I knew about, but I'm just too lazy to set it up. But now I'm okay, I just need to go set up automatic payments. So I'll be more motivated to use my credit card.
Amazing. I love it. That is a great pro tip from the woman in that group. Yeah, auto pay is amazing. Just set it and forget it. And, of course, make sure you have enough money in your account so you're not overdrafting. But yeah, it's great. And Kelly, I saw you just joined back, not to put you on the spot, but we read your experience. I don't know if you're still in class, if you want to share your experience with the fraud on the coffee maker, what happened? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Now I'm having issues with my Zoom going back and forth, so it's fine. It was meant to be in this class, not my class, I guess. No, it was actually my boyfriend wanted me to get it. It was some crazy. If you guys know Gravel coffee machines, they're pretty expensive, and it was 50% off. And it was my fault, because if you actually looked at the pictures, everything's pixelated. But he was so excited about it, and I just kind of went through and I grabbed it and I did it on my debit card. He told all of his friends, they all got it, but they got it on their credit card. And they, of course, were able to get their money back right away. And for me, it was a pain. It took a little bit longer, and then it just a lot of verification on my end. And I won't make that mistake again. So, it's a bit of money.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I've heard that story too many times. So yeah, well, I hope do you get your money back finally?
Yeah, I got my money back. Yeah.
Okay, nice, cool. All right, okay, so now that we are warmed up and chatting, another fact or myth to kind of kick us off into the next portion of this conversation, which is diving deeper into credit. What are factors that go into your credit score, and how do we make them work for us as women? So would love to hear in the chat, fact or myth, I should deactivate credit cards that I no longer use. Gonna monitor the chat here. Maybe fact, ooh, a little bit of controversy on these answers. All right, depends, maybe fact, myth, no, truth, question mark, ish, myth, truth, fact, dot, dot, dot. All right, things start to get interesting at this point. All right, any last answers? Depends on whether the card is your first credit card. Interesting, Ronnie. Okay. All right, cool. So, drum roll. This is a myth. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. It's very tempting to say, oh, I have multiple credit cards, or I'm not using this one, and I should just close it to make my life easy. We'll talk about this in a second, but one of the key factors that goes into your credit history and your credit score is your length of credit. And you want, especially your oldest cards, so good call out, Ronnie, that you should always keep that one open for sure. But even your other cards go into another factor, which is your credit utilization. And we'll talk about that in a second as well. So TLDR, do not activate credit cards that you no longer use. This is what you can do. So if it's a card with an annual fee, then you can call your bank and say, I want to downgrade this card to a no-fee product, and they'll be able to downgrade it for you. You won't be paying a fee, but you'll keep the line open. The second thing is, a lot of times what happens is our cards get closed due to inactivity. And so what we like to say is just put a subscription on each of your cards and then set it on auto pay and set it and forget it. Put your Hulu on there or Disney Plus or whatever you have, and any rental boxes, and set it and forget it, and that'll keep your cards open as well. So you don't want your cards to close, and especially your oldest line of credit, you want to keep open. All right. Okay, so some quick, we can't do the polls, and I know we talked about this for a bit, but maybe we can just in the chat answer one of these questions. Do you currently have a credit card in your own name? I'd love to just give you all a few minutes.
Vrinda, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. Before we answer that, let's get to the question. From Kelly, what did you say about paying lower amount? Okay, I think maybe you might be asking about downgrading the product. So basically what I meant was, if you have a credit card and you're trying to close it because there's an annual fee, what you can do is call your bank and say, I want to downgrade this product to a no-fee product. And so they'll give you a card in the same family of credit cards, but one that doesn't actually have an annual fee on it. And then you'll be able to keep that line of credit open, so it doesn't affect your credit score or your credit history, but you won't be paying the annual fee. Does that make sense, Kelly? Okay, cool, awesome. All right, okay, back to the regularly scheduled programming. So do you currently have a credit card in your own name? So you're not an authorized user, it's in your own name. I'd love to just hear in the chat. Okay, interesting. So it looks like someone has a few cards. Yes, yes. Using debit more now, okay. Any kind of heavy debit users out there? I know some of you shared your stories, but anyone else? No judgment, just curious to hear, how I never even take my debit card with me. Cool, all right, so All right, so on this authorized user note, another fact or myth here, and I know we've been in the chat a lot, so I'm just gonna play this game. Have your answer in your mind. Being an authorized user is a good way to build your credit. Fact or myth? Have it in your mind. All right, so this one is a little tricky. And at Sequin, we like to say myth. Okay, so this is a little bit of a gray area. So being an authorized user is a way to build some credit. And so if you're an authorized user on a parent's card, it's a great way to become credit visible in the system. What happens though is that the other factors, which I believe is the next slide, because you're an authorized user and you're not a primary user, it's not actually building your credit as effectively as you can. So what we like to say at Sequin is get a credit card in your own name. Again, use it early, responsibly. We'll keep on harping on that, but get it in your own name as soon as you can. We'll talk about some of those options on, even if you're holding you to credit, how exactly to do that. But it's so important to have credit in your own name and always have it in your own name. What we hear from a lot of women is, when you get into a relationship, you might go back to being an authorized user on a partner's card. And what that means is, unfortunately, if your marriage ever breaks up, then you don't have that credit history in your own name. And so we want to make sure that you are always credit visible and you can always get access to opportunity that you have earned and that you deserve. All right, okay, so the moment we've all been waiting for, how your credit score is calculated. So we've touched on some of these pieces and some of you may be more familiar than others. I'm gonna focus primarily on these top three. The most important factor that goes into your credit history is your payment history. Are you paying off on time? And every single month, are you doing that, right? That is the most important factor. But the second most important factor, and close to that, and one that we don't talk about as much, is this idea of credit utilization. And what's important about credit utilization and what it means is your balance, so how much you're using, over your total amount of credit that you're extended, and it's a ratio. And what the common understanding is you should not have your credit utilization go above 30%. Now what happens is, because you can only auto pay once a month with your bank, your utilization might be high even though you're paying it off in full. But the credit bureaus might actually see your utilization somewhere in the middle of the month. And so you always want to keep your credit utilization low, ideally below 30%, but what we see for excellent credit is 7%. So you want to keep that number low every single day of the month. And it's actually a thing that we preach at Sequin with all of our Sequin girls, is we say, pay off your card at least once a week, but especially just keep it below that 10% threshold. And I'll talk about this in a second, but the results are amazing. We've seen on average their scores go up by 20 points in 1 week just by kind of hacking this factor. And this factor actually affects women more than men because, one, as women, we sometimes get lower credit limits, and so our denominator of this equation is lower. And then also, because of all these hidden costs, our numerator is lower as well. If you have less money, you might be putting more on your card too. So you need to make sure that you're keeping your utilization low at every single point in the month. And at Sequin, it's one of the things that we really preach. And then the third piece, your age of credit, we talked about that. You want to just stay credit visible and in the system always. And then quickly, card inquiries, you want to limit the amount of credit you're applying for, right? So cards or getting an apartment, or just don't do a lot of credit changes or credit applications all at once. So that's going to show up. The caveat is, if you check your credit score on through Sequin or through your bank, then that counts as a soft inquiry, and that's actually not going to show up. So check your credit score as often as you'd like. And then the types of credit, you want to have a mix as well. I'm not going to harp on that one. It's 10%. The other ones are much more important. Okay, I see some chatter in the chat. Let's see what's up here. Oh, so 30% balance is a myth.
Yeah, I said it before you said it.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so
Arju has a question.
Oh, sorry, Arju. Okay, sorry. Can you repeat how to do soft inquiries? Yeah, so, I mean, there's different ways for you to check your credit score yourself, which is a soft inquiry, and that's not going to show up on your credit report as negative. So you can, let's say you check your credit score with Sequin, or you check your credit score with your bank, or you check your credit score with a Credit Karma or something like that, then that's just going to show up as a soft inquiry and not a hard inquiry. Soft is not going to affect your credit. Does that make sense, Arju? Okay, perfect. Sounds good. All right, so as I mentioned, top 3 factors in your credit score. These are some best practices, and we've talked about a lot of these, right? So, of course, with the repayment history, make sure that you are not carrying a balance, if possible, every single month, paid off on time. One thing that we see with women is we aren't checking our credit reports as often. So one of the things that we do at Sequin is in one of our credit power hours, we'll actually show you how to pull your credit report. You get them free with Sequin, and we'll go through and actually tell you what to look for, how to read it, and more importantly, how to dispute errors. 1 in 5 credit reports has an error, so there might be something, and probably is something on your report that's keeping your score artificially low. The second piece is credit utilization. Paying off that card multiple times a month. At Sequin, we make it super easy and we automate that for you. And also calling your bank and asking for a credit line increase. Now, that's not a blanket statement. We also have another Sequin Power Hour when we talk about when to do that, how to answer any questions they might have. So just make sure you are thoughtful when you're asking for credit line increase. But again, asking for that will increase your available credit and keep your credit utilization magically low. And then lastly, don't keep your, don't be an authorized user, have credit in your own name. And if you're totally new to credit, get a secured card, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. And all right, I see a question from Catherine, but Catherine, I'm just going to pause on your question, and I'll just do a Q&A. I'm just going to finish up through these slides because we're almost done. Okay, so, oh, Kelly, so this is making me want to make a payment to my credit card right now. That's amazing. Okay, so we just talked about this. Hopefully we all know the answer to this, right? Paying the minimum credit card balance each month is better for building your credit than paying the statement balance in full. This is a myth, and this is a myth that too many women believe, and this is false. You do not need to pay interest to build your credit. Actually, the best way to build your credit is to use your credit card like a debit card. Keep that utilization low. Ask for credit line increases when the time is right, and make sure that you're disputing any errors with the bureaus. So do not fall prey into this, and please tell all of your friends, especially the women in your life, that you should build credit and not pay interest. And we talked about this as well with the hard pulls versus soft pulls. Checking your score yourself is not going to affect your credit. So make sure you're checking your score often. All right. Okay. So I am now going to go into a little bit about Sequin. And, a lot of these tenets are what we're trying to teach women, especially young women. And the way that Sequin works and what we've been doing with the Sequin girls that has been increasing our credit scores 20 points just in the first week. But even, across 1 month, we've seen almost a 40-point increase. So it's super easy. And we just want every single woman to have access to this. So basically what we do is we have a web app. And what you do is you input your existing credit card into Sequin, and then we keep your utilization low for you. So we monitor your card and we tell you, okay, your threshold, your utilization is a little high, and we'll send you a smart, really fun and nice text message saying, pay it off. We do payoffs together as a community every Friday. We've also got your back, if you specifically are kind of bumping up against a credit utilization limit, we help you pay that off multiple times a month. We also track your credit score gains, and we love seeing that going up every Friday in our Slack community. We celebrate those all together, and it's just this really amazing and vibrant community of financial feminists. And we shared some of this, but the women love Sequin, and they've been referring a ton of their friends, so it's all been very exciting and very fun. And to Kelly's point on it's making me want to pay my credit card right now. So we talked about this a little bit, right? But paying micropayments or paying multiple times a month is gonna boost your credit score. It's gonna make you say goodbye to late fees. You're not gonna pay senseless interest. And the other piece that is kind of a little known kind of fact, I guess, about the way that credit cards were made were when credit cards were invented in the 50s. A lot of the credit card issuers worked with behavioral economists and said, hey, what are some of the things that we could put into this that might be good for our business, i.e., what might make someone pay interest or pay late. And one of the pieces was this idea of a minimum payment that they said, if you give them that option, many people are going to take that option. Or even, paying off once a month as well. It's harder to pay down debt when you have this huge, balance at the end of the month. So we like to say, just take it week by week, pay it off chunk by chunk, and pay it down, and get all the positive aspects of a credit card, and none of the scary stuff. And then we talked a little bit about our credit power hours. So what factors go into my credit score, similar to this one, but what do I need to know when I ask for a credit line increase? How do I read my credit report? We did a really cute credit dates for Valentine's Day and just kind of set goals together and accountability. And we have this really safe space for women to connect in our Slack channel as well. And we're co-creating alongside our community too. So our app is very much in beta right now. And so we're just slowly bringing women onto it. So it's all super, super exciting. And so if you're all interested, we're actually full in our private beta as of now, and we're trying to keep it small. But if you're interested in, we've been calling it our Sequin seasons. If you're interested in our next Sequin season, you can fill out our Google form. We'll just ask you a few questions about your credit behaviors, and just want to make sure that we're setting you up for success. And when we launch our next Sequin season, which will be in the next few weeks, then would love to have you join us and join our community. So Simran, if you want to throw in, oh, perfect, you read my mind. If you want to throw in the Google Docs link, feel free to fill out that form, and we will let you know when our next Sequin season is live, but we would love to have you all there and for you to invite your friends as well. Okay, cool. So we have about 30 minutes. I'm going to say one last thing. I know I've been chatting for a while. I just want to talk quickly about what exactly a secured card is, because I promised that, and I know we have at least one woman here who is international. A secured card is a really great way to start building credit on your own, in your own name, if you have no credit history at all. And basically the difference between a secured card and a regular card is that you're actually backing your own line of credit. So you put cash behind this card. You can put down, let's say, $500, and that becomes your credit line. But in that way, you start becoming credit visible. So it's a tool that's really powerful to build credit, and we just want to flag that for any new to credit women out there, that this is a really great tool to start building your credit. So if you're interested in learning more, I'm always available. Feel free to message us or just write that into the beta form as well. And we're really happy to do, one-on-one session with you just to help you get set up as well. So with that, for those of us who are still here, would love to take a quick photo together, and then I'll pass it on to a 30-minute Q&A, and feel free to ask whatever questions, whether it's about credit, whether it's about Sequin, whether it's about starting a company, whatever. I'm really, really happy to chat about any of that. So before we go there, would love to get everyone on the screen and make an S for Sequin. And Simran, if you wouldn't mind just taking a photo, that would be amazing. Let me get...
You might want to stop sharing so all of us can be on the screen together.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I'm like, I don't see anyone. All right. Oh, okay. Perfect. Yay. Okay, cool.
Cool. Well, if anyone doesn't have
gallery view. Okay, so make an S for Sequin, and Simran will have you, and anyone who's on video, if you wouldn't mind just making our S, we'd love to have that.
Taken.
Yay, thank you all to those who turned their cameras on just for this. It's wonderful to see your faces. All right.
Yeah, took the picture.
Got it? Okay, awesome, cool. All right, well, I will give you all a break from listening to my voice exclusively and would love to hear your questions. Rhea, I'm not sure how you wanna facilitate this, but really happy to do a 30-minute Q&A if it's helpful for all of you.
Yeah, let's just do a hand raise function and then people can unmute themselves and chat.
Perfect.
Right. So if anyone has questions, go ahead and raise your hand.
That gets to my question, right?
Sorry, what was that, Fran?
Oh yeah. There was a question in the chat that I said I would come back to. So maybe we can start there.
It was about, you said that like you can help your credit score or something like that by asking to increase your limit for the bank. And I recently did that, but then I read an article and I was like, oh, was that dumb? Because I read that that's a hard inquiry. And so I just wanted you to elaborate on that.
Yeah, so it's a great question, Catherine. So anytime you go to seek credit, right, whether it's getting a new credit card, whether it's asking for a credit line increase, whether it is asking for an apartment, right? That's someone leasing you something. So that's going to be a hard inquiry. And a hard inquiry is going to affect your credit negatively. And just to get a little bit into the psychology of credit scoring, right? So if there are too many hard inquiries, it signals to the next lender that you might be in some sort of financial distress. And so you don't want too many of those. And that's why at Sequin, we do a specific power hour dedicated to asking for a credit line increase, because the worst case scenario is that you ask for one and then you get rejected, and that's another, hard inquiry. So that's a little bit of the background. Does that answer your question?
I think yes. I think what you're saying is yes, it might be a hard inquiry, but it might not drop your score that much because it's just one, and you're like also increasing your amount.
So there's two scenarios, right? So you ask for a credit line increase and you get accepted, or you ask for a credit line increase and you get rejected. Each way, regardless of the outcome, them checking if you're eligible for a credit line increase is a hard inquiry. And anytime there's a hard inquiry, it drops your credit score. So it's regardless of the outcome, your credit score is going to go down. If you are successful with a credit line increase, then it'll help your credit. So you just want to make sure that you are asking for a credit line increase at the right times. And again, there's different checklists and certain parameters to think about, but one of those is you don't want to be asking for a credit line increase too soon to when you're acquiring other types of credit. So you don't want to, apply for a card and then apply for credit line increase and apply for an apartment. You don't want to do that too close to each other. You probably want to leave about 4 to 6 months in between each of those decisions.
I think Brianne was next.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna try to make this question make sense. So I noticed that it's better to use less percent of your credit. So say you have a limit of $1,000 a month or whatever. Yep. So is it better to only spend $300 on your credit card and pay it off, or is it better to spend $800 on your credit card and pay it off?
So you can spend however much you would like on your credit card. What you're asking is, what exactly is credit utilization, right? So let's take this example of you're spending $800 on your $1,000 credit limit, right? So at that point, your credit utilization is 80%, which is really high, right? So you want to bring it down and pay down to get to definitely below 30%, but ideally below 10%. So in that case, we would recommend, pay off 700 of that. And then, when you start to get closer to 30%, then you can pay it off. It's annoying and a little complex to keep on calculating, especially when you have multiple cards. So it's actually why we built Sequin, to help you actually think through, like, all right, I'm spending normally, but I want to make sure that my credit utilization is low. When should I pay it off? Sequin does that math for you and actually just tells you to pay it off. But if you want to do it manually, you can do it. It's just pretty cumbersome.
Okay, got it. So like, it's like spending more and paying that off quicker won't necessarily help your credit better. It's just the fact of like always making sure it's like around that 30%.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the purpose of this is not to say spend more on your credit card. You should spend a normal way on your credit card, but just make sure at any point the balance that you're carrying is below, definitely below 30%, but ideally below 10%.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
And I think Kasvi, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I think she was next.
Hi. So I know you did mention like international students with the secured credit cards. So my question was like, in terms of like building credit and being new to credit, like as an international student, are there any other like options of products we can choose from, or is secured credit card like the only / the best way to go?
I know you don't want to hear this answer in the way that you answered that you asked the question, but a secured card is a really, really powerful tool. And actually, Simran, do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, so it's really funny that you mentioned that because I'm an international student as well. And just this morning, and I have a secured card with Discover, which is just a brilliant card. It's great. And I was just checking my credit score this morning, and I was like, it's been crawling, it's been creeping, and suddenly 30-point increase. Just like following like Sequin's like weekly payoff methods, and I was like, why isn't it going up? What's happening? And then it built up my credit in a really strong way. Like I did not have a credit presence in America before I got this card, like at all. So yeah, don't underestimate secured cards at all. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, and you don't have to stay on a secured card forever, right? It really is meant to be kind of a temporary credit building vehicle, and then we can get you, a cooler and better card. The point is to kind of get you to that place where you'll be eligible and qualified for better credit cards, but also just better credit in general.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Welcome. Thanks for sharing, Simran.
And Ria.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what things to look for when you're choosing a credit card?
Yeah, we actually do a whole hour-long power hour on that topic as well, due to popular demand. But yeah, so there are a few different things, right? I think because I built so many credit cards at Visa, a lot of the questions I get is, what is the best credit card? And my answer is that differs, right? It depends on how you personally are spending, but also your personal values around credit and products and how you want to engage with them, right? So I would say there are a few high-level parameters that are the most important, and then secondary parameters. So I would say the most important parameters to be thinking about are, one, how do you want your rewards, right? Are you more interested in points? Are you interested in cash back? So that's one. But a second and the most important piece is, how are you specifically spending, right? So if you are a person, let's say I am a person who spends a lot on Amazon, unfortunately, right? And so for me, maybe an Amazon card makes a lot of sense. But for someone else who's maybe spending totally differently, or just wants something no fuss, right? I just want a straight 2% cashback card. I don't want to deal with points. I don't want to think about it. Then that's the best card for them. So just think about where you're spending and how you want to earn your rewards, and also how much hassle do you want to put into it, right? Do you want to pay an annual fee and then figure out, okay, this is how I'm going to break even on that, or whatever else? Are benefits important to you? Like, do you care to have airline lounge access on a card or not, right? I think for most of us, we're not really traveling right now, so maybe that's not the most important thing, right? So different parameters to think about. And then, some of those secondary parameters are, if you're, new to the country, right? Thinking through, okay, what type of card should I get? Maybe I should get a secured card. Or also thinking through, am I someone who needs to carry a balance for some reason? Maybe at that point you might think through a card with a lower APR. So there's so many parameters. We actually at Sequin put together a fun credit card matchmaking quiz that we're piloting right now. So if you're interested in piloting that with us, just plugging our form in the chat as well, and we'll get you in our next Sequin season.
Perfect. Thank you. That all is such great information. I'd love to be a part of that pilot program
Awesome.
to figure out. Yeah, that sounds great. Simran, if you could send that in the chat so that way I can sign up with that. Yeah.
Yeah. The beta sign up form is currently in the chat, and in case anyone's interested in matchmaking, that's there as well. Nivedita had a question, I think.
Yeah, so I'm an international student and I don't know a lot about how the credit score works. So what happens if you apply for a card and then you get rejected for it?
Yeah, so credit is a chicken and egg game, unfortunately, right? And you need credit to get credit, but where the heck do you start, right? And the best answer to that really is a secured card. Start off with a secured card, put $500 on it, and use it, keep the utilization low, right? If it's $500, you want to keep your utilization below 10%, every $50, pay that thing off, keep on paying it off. Your credit score will go up and then you'll be eligible for, another product. But really the best way to be building your credit is to, use a credit tool responsibly.
Right. So I was more wondering, what happens if you make an inquiry and you get rejected, or something else happens, whatever the hard inquiry that you were talking about. Do you explain those terms a bit more, because I'm not very clear about that?
Yeah. So if you apply for a credit card and you get rejected, right? Two things happen. One thing is it shows up on your credit report. And so you can see that you've, accessed credit and gotten rejected. And the second piece that happens is, because that's now on your report, then it drops your credit score. So if you have a credit score, it makes it go lower. And if you don't have a credit score, then you're still just left out of the system. So those are kind of two potential outcomes depending on where you're at. But I think your second question was around the difference between a hard pull and a soft pull. It's really simply a hard pull shows up on your credit and affects your credit and is when you're trying to access credit, successfully or unsuccessfully. It just shows up. And then a soft pull is when you're just looking for your credit as an FYI, right? So if you go, again, like with Sequin, you check your credit score, or you check it Credit Karma or wherever, you check your score. That's a soft pull. And also, sometimes you'll get a pre-approval offer in the mail, right? And you're like, how the heck did you know? And so those institutions as well can actually, look at your profile and do a soft pull on you, just FYI. And then, you need to apply for the proper products, and that will ultimately be a hard pull. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that explains a lot. Thank you so much.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I know it's a black box, and that's what we're trying to open up. Credit is so important, right? That no one's sitting down and telling anyone. So, all right. What other questions do we have? I know we have a few minutes left. Happy to chat about any and all things.
Yeah, if we don't have any more questions, I think we can officially end the meeting, and then people can stick around if they want to have a more personal conversation, just one-on-one or maybe something like that. But otherwise, thank you all so much for coming. I know we started with 25 and now we're at 15. A lot of people had to jump off, it seems like. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Look out for our newsletter if you are a Lean In USC member. I'll be in touch with Simran and Vrinda to get the links that they shared with us so we can put them in our newsletter, and to everyone who came today. But thank you so much for coming, everyone.
It was wonderful to meet you all. Thanks for spending the evening with us, talking about credit and talking about money. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was super informative.
It's awesome.
Okay. Jamie, did you have any questions? Maybe she fell asleep. That happens a lot. I understand. Or maybe she's in another class. But yeah, thank you so much, Vrinda or Simran, for hanging out with us today and talking to Lean In. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I think also I followed your Instagram just in case you guys do that credit power hour about which credit card to pick.
Yeah.
I definitely will hop in because I think that's a big question that I have.
Yeah.
Especially like navigating the world of credit as a young person. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for, managing this platform. It's so important. I think especially, for young women like you to just have an amazing community and have access to these types of events. So it's awesome. Thank you for supporting us and for giving us the platform tonight.
Yeah, and I mentioned to Simran that I got her email from the chat, so I mentioned that I'd email her afterwards to talk about, to receive the links and share them with all of our newsletters, to share them with all the members in our community on our newsletter.
Perfect.
So we have over 600 people on our newsletter and 100 people directly on our community.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be shared with a lot of people.
Okay, that's amazing. That's awesome. Simran, maybe we'll keep the matchmaking quiz for those who we let into our Sequin season. So just share the link to the beta, and then we can see how many people are interested in getting a new card. So we'll know who to send that to.
Sounds good.
Definitely. All right. Thank you.
And are you going to be sharing the recording as well to this?
Yeah, it takes about a few hours to, download and save. So I will go ahead and save it to, I'll schedule an email tomorrow morning to go out to you guys.
Okay, sounds good. And will you do kind of a wrap up or something in your newsletter as well? Or, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I'll put the link to Sequin. I'll share the links that you have, and then I'll put a recap of the event. And then your Instagram, I don't know who runs your Instagram, but they've been reposting our stories because we put little snippets up there as well.
Yay!
So yeah, sounds great.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's so lovely to meet the two of you. We'll keep in touch. And Ria, I might tap you when we're ready to scale a little bit more too. Would love to get connected to some of the other groups that you mentioned as well. So
Definitely.
I will tap on you and hopefully you'll be available at that point.
Of course, feel free. You have my email, so just feel free to reach out whenever you want. I do have I can even share a list, like a running list that I have currently with you in tomorrow's wrap up.
I would love that. That would be so wonderful. Please do. Thank you.
All right. Definitely. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye. Bye, Hila. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.